Wanderer's Haven. It is Saturday, and I'm playing a game, and that feels kind of strange. I don't often get to play on the weekends, and so I decided that I was going to raid Wanderer's Haven, returning for an encore presentation. It's been a minute, hasn't it, Jer?
It has been a minute.
Yeah. You can blame Jeremy for all of this, by the way, because this entire game is because he mentioned that he had never played a game in Eberron and wanted to play it, and then somehow a week later I was conned into running a game, and I conned all of these other people into coming and playing the game with me.
The funny part is you conned yourself, and it was pretty quick too. It was like, bus, throw myself under it.
Yeah, well, I do that a lot to myself. Anyway, hi everyone. Welcome to tonight's Mayhem. We are playing Dungeons and Dragons in the world of Eberron. Very, very specifically, we are going to be playing in the wonderfully metropolitan city of Sharn. And I hope that you are interested in a noir-esque mystery intrigue adventure, because that's what you're getting tonight. Before we get to that game, though, I think we should probably get some announcements and such out of the way. First of all, big shout out to Jeremy for letting this game happen. It is, after all, Wanderer's Haven, his channel, and we are getting the absolute joy and luxury of getting to play here. Second shout out for the night is for Tabletop Audio. Love Tabletop Audio. They make some of the most amazing gaming ambiance and musical tracks that you can ever have. And yeah, I will always use them in every game that I possibly can. I see chat flying by over there. I'm going to ignore it because you guys have a tendency when you do that to throw me off my game. So I don't care what you guys are saying over there. Last and certainly not least, Shay and Peku. Shout out to those guys. They make awesome gaming maps for all of your TTRPG goodness. And not too long ago, they started making cool little scenery, epic, sometimes animated scenes that are all representations of their maps. And so, yeah, we're going to use one of those tonight, I think. And yeah, shout out to my players, Beth, Deb, Miri, even you, Jeremy. Love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We're going to give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves, tell us a little tiny bit about your character, whatever you want to give up now, you're going to give up more later. And then at the end, we're going to go through and give everybody a chance to kind of shout out some of their own things and tell us about their awesome stuff that they do on the internet. And because we are going in semi-alphabetical order, we're going to start with Beth.
Oh, hey guys, that's me. I am Beth. I'm excited. I haven't played in Eberron ever either, so this should be a lot of fun. Tonight I will be playing Silas, who isn't really having a good time. But he is a rogue. We'll get to see what that all looks like for him. Yeah, is that enough? Is that good for now?
That's totally fine. Keeping things moving right along. Deb,
save us. Hello. Already?
Yes.
Great.
Why we invite you to every game. You're here to save us.
Yep. Hi, it's me. I'm Deb. I am playing Liza Mason. She is having a good time. She's a monk. I've never played a monk, so this could get fun. Yeah,
she's a drunken monk.
She is a drunken monk. And she sees a little bit of the shady side of Sharn, so it'll be great.
That's good, because you guys are going to be seeing a lot of shade tonight. Speaking of shade, Jeremy.
There's a shady side of Sharn? Well, my character's never seen that. Sharn is a beautiful and wondrous city. No wrong could ever go wrong in there. Hi, I'm Jeremy. Right? I'm playing Professor Hex, the wheelchair-bound tiefling artificer, and I'm excited because this is my first time in Eberron and my first artificer. So a lot of firsts for most of us tonight.
Yeah. Miri, have you played in Eberron before?
I have not.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm introducing all of you guys. I am going to ruin it for you, I am certain. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your character, Miri?
So my character is the shady side of Sharn. Ryrele Fairday is a Mark of the Shadow elf. She's a warlock, and she's a gambler, and she doesn't always pay her debts.
Nice. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. I see some familiar faces in the chat, and yeah, this is going. Oh, I'm back, Lady Mike. Haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for joining us. Ian's in there. So many people are in there. Love you guys. Are you guys ready to perhaps get into this story?
I suppose.
Cool. Let's do it then. So, let me paint you a picture of Sharn. The City of Towers, as it is known, is a place where the imagination soars as high as the towers themselves. A city that stretches up to the clouds, where the idea of the sky is the limit is laughable, because here the buildings themselves are reaching for the heavens. You're looking at a metropolis sprawled across levels upon levels where the streets float above and below you. Filled with the buzz of life and the glow of magic, it's something straight out of a dream for most. A reminder of the city's storied past and the mysteries buried beneath it. In the heart of this sprawling metropolis, the district of Skyway floats above everything, an island in the sky where the city's elite revel in their isolation, untouched by the chaos below. But don't let the opulence fool you. Here, among the cloud-kissed gardens and majestic estates, the intrigue runs deep. Deals are made in whispered tones over glasses of exquisite wine, and alliances are as fragile as the morning mist. You then descend into the bustling quarters of Middle Sharn, and you're in the thick of it here. The marketplace in the bazaar is alive with more than just the clamor of commerce. It's a place where information is the true currency, and a seemingly innocuous conversation can hide a wealth of meaning. In places like the Everbright district, Magerites ply their trade, their workshops aglow with arcane energy, but every spell cast, every artifact sold, carries with it the potential for darker undertakings. Now let us talk about Lower Sharn, the city's pulsing heart, where the noir truly comes to life. In districts like Calistan, the shadows cling a little tighter, hiding faces that prefer the anonymity the darkness provides. Here in the dimly lit taverns, you'll overhear fragments of conversation that could lead you down a rabbit hole of conspiracy and deceit. And deeper down, in Fallen, among the ruins of a district brought low by catastrophe, the ghosts of the past are all too real. Their whispers carried on the wind, hinting at secrets that were meant to stay buried. But Sharn is more than just its streets and districts. It's a city built on history, on layers of civilizations stacked one atop the other. Beneath the bustling life of the city lie the cogs, the industrial heart where forges roar and steam fills the air. Even further below, ancient ruins await, holding secrets from the time when giants walked Eberron. It's here in the depths that the true heart of Sharn's mysteries beat. A siren's call to those brave enough to delve into said darkness. In Sharn, every shadow could hide a clue. Every face might conceal a nefarious intent. It's a city where the line between friend and foe is as blurred as the boundary between right and wrong. As you navigate its complex web of alliances and enmities, remember, in Sharn, everyone has a secret, and uncovering the truth might just be the most perilous quest of all. So keep your eyes sharp and your senses sharper. In the dark labyrinth of Sharn, the next revelation might be just around the corner, or it might be lurking right behind you. As we descend into the depths of Lower Sharn, I would like for you to picture this. A man with his imposing frame crafted from wood and metal, sulking through the streets of Calistan, with its labyrinthine alleys and shadowy dealings. This man wears a long trench, rounded off bowler hat, and carries an obvious sidearm upon him. But despite this appearance, he is not your typical sleuth. He's a relic of the last war, now turned private eye, navigating the murky waters of Sharn's underworld with a keen mind and a steady hand. Our story tonight begins on a rain-slicked evening, the kind where the city's towers disappear into the mists above and the streets below are bathed in the soft glow of lamplight. The uneven cobblestones, slick with rain, reflect the flickering lights from the windows above, casting elongated shadows that dance with Cog's every step. Here, amidst the murmur of distant conversations and the occasional clatter of a sky coach overhead, our warforged detective seems to be aimlessly wandering the wet streets. But that would be what he wants you to see. His eyes are ever alert on this night, trying to decide his options for the circumstance he now finds himself in. You see a close friend, a man who had once seen the horrors of war alongside him, has been found dead under suspicious circumstances. Although when working with those of the criminal underbelly of Sharn, everything is suspicious. This isn't just any case for Cog, it's personal. His friend was more than a comrade in arms. He was hope in a city that can often feel cold and indifferent. The official story doesn't add up, and Cog knows it. There are too many shadows, too many secrets tucked away in the high towers and deep alleys of Sharn for this to be a simple affair. Our warforged detective has spent his time gathering clues, questioning contacts from all over the city. The deeper he digs, the more he uncovers a tangled web of conspiracy that could have ripple effects throughout the city and even beyond. His time is running short, and he knows it. Amidst his silent vigil through the rain-washed streets, Cog's hand instinctively toys with a small brass puzzle box he always carries, the kind with gears that only click into place when you've sussed out their secret rhythm. It's a trinket from his past, a tactile riddle that keeps his mind sharp and his senses honed. To any onlooker, it might seem like a mere distraction, but to those who know Cog, they understand it's a meditation. Each subtle click, a step closer to unlocking the enigma of his friend's untimely demise. With every step Cog takes, he is drawn deeper into a labyrinth of lies and deception. But for the pursuit of justice for his friend, it is a path he's willing to follow to the end, no matter how dark or dangerous it might become. But when you walk alone on such a path, you may find yourself reaching the end of it too early. So Cog steps through the doors of a communications office and hopes he has enough favors to call due. That, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to who those friends and favors might be. Beth, would you do us a favor, please, and describe what Silas is up to this very evening?
Absolutely. So, you see this man in a very tight space. It looks like it's a cellar of some kind, long and narrow. There is a lot of stuff stored down here, mostly textiles. And he is currently sitting at a desk in the back corner. It's kind of like a workspace drafting desk kind of thing. It's got a lot of supplies on it that don't look like they belong to him. But he sits at this desk with papers sort of strewn about. He sort of leans back in his chair, runs his hands through his hair. He is a human man. He's got dark hair, 5 o'clock shadow, thick ass mustache. He is currently holding a pencil. I don't know what quill in his right hand. You see that his right hand is it's got a glove on it, and he appears to be missing his ring finger and pinky finger on that right hand. But he still writes with it, and he looks fairly exhausted, but that's not uncommon for him. But he takes a look over his papers one more time. There's a lot of different stuff here. So there are some like news articles that have been clipped out. There are sketches of various faces. You see as he's sort of piling things back together, getting them as neatly organized as they can be, given the state of everything. There are a few notes that he sort of circled again and etched in a little bit deeper. They're a little bit bolder. And on that top sheet of paper, it says House Tarkanan. And then you see things like aberrant dragon marks, possible partnership. There are a couple of names, Nightshade and Zay, and then other little scratched out words that are like things like poison and toxins and enhancing dream lily ? Next to Zay, it says spy, uses rodents, and then that's about all that can be made out. He takes these papers, and now that they're neatly organized, he removes his ink, everything on the table that belongs to him, and he goes to the other corner of this sort of narrow space and pulls up a stone from the floor where he keeps a metal box, puts his notes in that box, and closes things up. He'll then climb the stairs. It's sort of a steep staircase. And when he exits the cellar, you see he's in a very modest tailor's shop. There is an older man sort of sitting, doing some work quietly. He just gives Silas a nod. Silas sort of nods and grunts back, and gives a wave, and he'll head out. Now that the sun has just gone down, he's ready to walk around a bit and maybe learn some more if he can.
As the evening has fully set in, you feel the drops of rain come light at first. Wishing you had your hat, you pull your cloak a little bit tighter around your neck as very quickly the rain turns from light to heavy. You can already see people running to get out of this evening's rain. It's an unexpected situation for most, as the weather folk within the city are often quite good at discerning when inclement things are happening, but I guess they missed the mark, or maybe the newspapers just didn't quite reach down in the lower districts.
It's all the same to him anyways. He flips up his hood, which he would do regardless of the weather. And as he does, he sort of fades into the rain, nondescript, and just works his way down the streets.
As he's working his way down the streets, his mind is of course wandering in 25 different directions for wherever this investigation he's currently in might lead. And as if thought could will it so, he starts thinking about maybe he needs to contact Cog, his friend, once again for a little bit of assistance. And then a faint glow of magic spins through the air, wandering down the street, flitting to and fro between different denizens getting out of the rain, and it seems to be coming directly towards Silas. this little tiny speckle of light, almost like a firefly moving at great speeds, that flies straight up to him and then explodes in a small puff of light and smoke, and a folded up letter appears within it, emblazoned on the front of it, a single cogged wheel. Jeremy.
I was just saying, am I familiar with this particular method of delivery? Okay.
Yes. So in Sharn specifically, the communications offices are always looking at new ways of delivering messages for differing amounts of coin. Personalization of the magic is, of course, an option, and you can even go as simple as just an audio delivered message if that's your preference. But in this particular case, you know your friend Cog likes subtle little personalizations such as that. So you know you have just received a letter from your dear friend you had been thinking of. Jeremy, would you like to tell us what Professor Hex is up to on this rainy evening?
Sure. So, in a large manner that isn't too large, but is roomy and comfortable, there's a small nook that kind of sits off to the side of a larger, almost like entertainment gallery. There's a table in this nook, and there are shelves of books on all sides, except for a large window that peers out over the city on one side. The rain's pattering against the windows, and lights from the city are largely being muted by the storm, but you can still see them. And sitting at the table and surrounded by alchemical lights is a purple-skinned tiefling. His horns sweep back over his head as he's fiddling with some papers, slightly mutters to himself, staring at these with deep concentration, but yet a sense of annoyance, maybe? Disappointment. He sighs and he reaches up and tries to grab a ledger that's further up the table and can't quite reach it, so he reaches down and taps the armchair on his seat up these. His seat raises up a little bit and he's able to grab the ledger, but as he's kind of leaning on the table, his hand slips and he shoves papers and his quill off the table. Ah, damn it. Stanley? Stanley? And you hear this fluttering noise, almost like maybe a hummingbird or something, but large, much larger than a hummingbird. And it flitters in, and there's the glint of the alchemical lights off of a shiny silver hide of a winged rabbit that flutters down and grabs the quill and brings it back up. Thank you, Stanley. Cleans off his pen. His chair, which is actually a wheelchair that seems to move of its own volition, settles back down, and he begins once again going over these dissertations from graduate students at the Morgrave University. The look on his face is one of I don't want to say regret, but perhaps spending his time off, his sabbatical, but yet agreeing to work with graduate students and go over their dissertations. Maybe that wasn't the best of ideas. And he sighs for a moment, rubs his brow, and sets everything aside and stares out the window. Maybe a little daydreamily.
Such daydreams come easily this evening as the rain patters lightly against the glass. I'm assuming that this modest manor, as you called it, is up in the Skyway. in the upper reaches.
That would be correct. And for up there, it is pretty modest.
Yes, for the Skyway, it is indeed quite modest. But also up here, the rain doesn't feel quite as oppressive as perhaps it does down below. There's still the subtlest hint of light out your western viewing window that you can see very quickly diminishing off in the distance. You hear the various sounds of the rest of your family and the handful of servants in the home behind you. What does Hex daydream of?
He's actually remembering because recently he has a friend, warforged fellow, that he helps out with occasionally, trying to get him information, or even better, going on investigations with him when this detective is actively doing things. And I have this certain respect for his job. I enjoy my job as a teacher, but there's a certain longing for action that I don't get teaching. And but yet there's a certain bittersweetness to being involved with his investigations, as I have proven unable to carry my weight, so to speak, in the past. But fortunately, recently, I've upgraded Sterling, my trusty steel defender, to maybe help out with that. And so I'm kind of daydreaming about running the streets of Sharn, helping Cog to catch criminals.
Your daydreams seem to take you into the night as you snap yourself back to the present with the tiniest bit of a tapping noise taking place on the window in front of you. And as you look out at the source of the tapping noise, you realize that it is full dark now, and the rain is coming down much heavier than it was before. And you see this little tiny mote of light that is just tapping against the window.
Stanley, can you get that? And the rabbit will flutter over, obviously mechanical, and little appendages will come off of his back and slide the door or the window open.
It barely opens the teeny tiniest of crack, and the flitter of light flies through very quickly and comes right up in front of your face, bursting in light and a tiny bit of smoke as you see a letter from Cog.
I will actually shrink back from that, and Sterling will pull back as well. I'm not really a big fan of explosions being around me, so I react for a moment and then glimpse between fingers.
See this innocuous, innocent floating letter with a tiny metal cog emblazoned on the side of it.
Oh, Cog, you rascal. And I'll take that. Open it up.
Miri, what's Ryrelay?
Ryrelay.
Ryrelay. What's Ryrelay up to tonight?
So she is currently in a dimly lit gambling den amidst numerous shady patrons. She lounges more than she sits. She's a young woman, elven of some kind, with short dark hair and sharp violet eyes. There's a smug smirk on her painted lips as she eyes the others at the table that she's seated at, almost like a hungry predator. There's a stack of gold coins sitting in front of her, and she's sort of fanning herself with the hand of cards that she has. And at another table, a man suddenly stands up, slamming his hands against the table. Dice and tokens start to fly everywhere. He starts yelling and creating a ruckus. And in that moment, all eyes have shifted towards this man across the room. And as quickly as one could blink, she drops one hand down with a card. And out from underneath the table, a small white weasel appears with a card in its hands. And they switch. And when the attention is back up onto the table, she tosses several more coins, raising into what is a rather large pot. And she waits and she looks around, waiting for anyone to meet her bet. And several of the people toss their cards, not risking the chance that she's bluffing. But one person, a man, meets her raise. And when he lays his cards down, it's a 4 of a kind. He's already reaching for the pot, thinking that he's won. And she holds up her hand. Hold on now, mate. And she will lay her own hand down. I think that beats yours, actually. And there's a straight flush, courtesy of her little weasel friend. And he is already beginning to start to yell at her for cheating, something she's probably had a bit of a reputation for. And she is quickly grabbing her winnings and about to make out like a rabbit, just get out of there.
You see a number of the patrons of this gambling den looking over at the newfound commotion, no doubt offering cover for someone else to pull some type of a grift at a different table. A couple of the guards of the establishment, gentlemen, of course, wearing nice, fine suits, not presenting any weapons, of course, outwardly, approach the table to calm the man, keep him from making too much more of a scene. But the dealer gives a nod, not having noticed any untowardness from what took place, and Rirelay scoops up her winnings and starts heading for the door. As she goes to reach the door, however, there's a familiar face off to one side, just kind of glancing at her. Knowingly, she recognizes the man that carries her debt, and he just winks as she moves to the door.
She gives a little wink back.
As Rirelay makes it out onto the street, she feels a good amount of coin within her purse. Easily 100 gold by weight, she would guess. Certainly more than she came in to the establishment with. Good haul for a night's work.
It's a good night. It's a good night. There's been worse nights.
She is met with the rain. By this point, a heavy amount, large droplets that fall down from the various eaves and buildings above, getting her hair and her clothes quite wet. She pulls up a shawl over her head to kind of block as much of it as she can, and then, I am assuming, starts heading for some place more quiet that she can firmly count up her winnings.
Yeah, she's going to probably head towards some sort of tavern, probably one of her local ones that she knows is quiet, no peering eyes.
She only gets a few steps forward, however, when she hears this buzzing noise coming just out of her right ear. She glances over her shoulder quickly, and she sees this little tiny mote of light just floating right next to her head. She goes to swat at it, and it zips around in front of her face and hovers there for again. She swats at it again, and she hits it this time, and it poofs in a display of light and smoke. And then in her hand that she had swatted with, she now holds a folded up envelope with a cog wheel sealed on the front of it. Deb, please tell us about Liza and her evening so far.
Sure. Liza is currently striding purposefully down a street in the lower part of the city. She is a human woman. She's got kind of really long, luscious hair that trails down her back. She has two lackeys that are kind of a half step behind her, flanking her on either side. Both of them are carrying duffel type bags that seem to have things in them. And she gets to a certain alleyway and she slips down and heads to a metal door and she knocks twice on it. The person inside lets her in, and it is it seems like a warehouse room that's kind of full floor to ceiling with all kinds of artwork, different artifacts, jewelry. There is a corner that has some weapons in it. And she sees the proprietor that let her in and looks at him and says, "I have more goods for you."
Is this going to be as good a haul as you got last time?
"We'll see." And she snaps her fingers at the two lackeys and they step forward and open their bags.
All right, fine. Kind of lets you all into the main area. There's a empty table as if this meeting was expected, and you start arraying things out. There's a terse exchange between you and the proprietor. Some of your wares that you had acquired still haven't sold from the last, and so he tries to nickel and dime you down a little bit, but you of course don't let things such as that slide, and eventually he offers you what you feel is a fair enough price anyway, given that he's taking a significant amount of the risk in selling these things under the nose of the watch and all. And as you go to make your way out of the establishment, your two lackeys, as you so fondly call them, kind of just wait for a moment for their cut, eager to get on to whatever night's festivities they have planned, whichever houses of ill repute that they're going to drunkenly find their way to this eve.
I look at both of them. I hand them their cuts and I say, "Your job's not quite done yet." And I have opened the door and see that the rain is falling a little harder at this point, and I snag sort of a garish looking umbrella from next to the door and like shove it at one of them. And he's gonna walk me home with carrying the umbrella.
Starts to put up a little bit of a grumbling dispute, but of course a steely gaze towards him kind of causes him to wilt, and he willingly holds it up, meanwhile getting soaked himself because the umbrella is nowhere near big enough for a lot of you. But you find yourself making your way down the street. As you do, you notice that this night in the lower district, the shadows feel a little more oppressive than normal. The darkness is clinging in places that are a little more unsettling. This portion of town, not one well known for people's safety, you're noticing a handful more ruffian type individuals than you're truly comfortable with. You of course have a reputation yourself, Liza, so no one would have the temerity to accost you, but it's still unsettling nonetheless. And you find yourself reaching down and clutching the bottle of liquor at your hip a little bit tighter. As the walk progresses, you start getting closer and closer to whatever flophouse you're calling home this evening, and you're interrupted by the sight. Very quickly, you catch on to this little tiny mote of light buzzing through the street. Stands out quite starkly against the dark evening. More than a few individuals see it go by and drunkenly try to catch at it, falling or slipping into a puddle or whatnot. And it flies straight towards you.
I assume I've seen it before, so I'm gonna just hold out my hand.
You hold out your hand easily, waiting for it to arrive. It seems to linger almost. It's almost like it's teasing you, toying with you a little bit as it floats around in the space in front of you, almost like it was hoping for more of a game. But eventually it settles down into your hands, and a little puff of smoke, you find yourself holding a folded up letter with the aforementioned cog imprinted on it. The letter that all of you have received is a letter of invitation from a friend. Cog, the warforged former soldier, now turned private investigator that all of you know from various interactions and personal histories, has asked you all to join him at a familiar ale house in Lower Sharn known as the Yellow Griffin. The shortness of the letter, the terse words that are written upon it, and the inference of a quick rendezvous implies that he is in need of help, and he's in need of that help post haste. Through whatever means at your disposal, whether that be a walk, taking a ride in a sky chariot down, using one of the various elevators that ascend and descend from the various towers, you find yourselves making your way to Lower Sharn. Stepping off into these rain-slick streets, the dimly lit embrace of the Yellow Griffin Inn finds you. This isn't a bright, bustling tavern of the Skyview reaches in Upper Sharn. No, it is more like a shadow that's taken root in the bowels of the city. A place where the light from outside struggles to penetrate the fogged windows, dying before it can even faintly illuminate the darkened interior. The main area sprawls out before you, a low-ceilinged space with a bar that's seen better days. The wood worn down by countless elbows and hastily spilled drinks. The air is thick, not just with the smell of ale and smoke, but with the weight of unspoken secrets. The tables are scattered, not carelessly, but with an air of deliberate isolation, each one in an island of a sea of shadows, poorly lit by flickering candles and wall sconces. If you look up, you see the mezzanine above, a shadowy overwatch that offers a perfect vantage point for those preferring to observe unnoticed. It's dimmer here if that's possible, with patrons who prefer the anonymity provided by the height and the half-light, their gazes tracking movements on the floor below like hawks. Venturing further into the Yellow Griffin beyond the common area, you'll find the network of private rooms and corridors behind a thick, rough-hewn stone wall. These aren't the polished meeting rooms one might imagine. They're more like dens carved out of a stone, hidden behind thick canvas curtains and connected by a labyrinth of corridors. Their conversations are hushed with the promise of intrigue. Those with experience know that this is a place where alliances are forged not with smiles and handshakes, but with narrowed eyes and the silent clink of coin. You look up into the mezzanine and you see Cog leaning over the rail, waiting for you. Steins upon his ale-stained table. Your arrivals relatively coincide with one another, with perhaps just a few minutes between. You make your way up into the mezzanine level and take a seat at the table with Cog. Any of you that arrive first and foremost are able to quite easily notice his tension. He is nervous. If you know him well enough, you might even say that he's scared. It's hard to tell, though, with warforged. Their expressions often muted and not quite like those that you might find seated at a poker table or in a classroom. He slowly sips at an ale. Strange thing for a warforged. They don't all do it, but Cog seems to relish in it. His hands fidget upon the brass toy trinket, the little puzzle that he always keeps on his person. He doesn't say much when you arrive. He just says, "Hang on, we got some more coming. They'll be here soon." And you wait until all four of you find yourselves at the table. Jeremy, Professor Hex is likely last to arrive. Not necessarily because he was the last of the four of you to make your way in, but this establishment is not well versed in those that need to use wheelchairs to get around. And so there's a little bit of consternation and a little bit of struggle to get you fully up the stairs. But thanks to your ingenuity with Stanley, and perhaps a little bit of assistance from the dwarven barkeep to help guide, you do manage to make your way up. You find that there are only a couple of other people seated in this mezzanine level with you, but they're minding their own business, as pretty much everyone does in the Yellow Griffin. And you have fairly clear view looking down and seeing the handful of others silently getting intoxicated in the level below. You hear the sounds of what you think might be music coming from the opposite side of the stone walls to the private chambers. You're not quite sure. It's hard to tell. The din of this place just naturally feels muffled. But there you sit, seeing Cog and looking back at all of you. I'm sorry about having to have you all come so quick and all that. It's well, it's been a rough few days. I'm assuming that all of you have heard about Garrick.
Yeah.
Kind of watches Hex for a long minute.
So Hex is kind of the odd person out here. One, there are these other people here now? What's up with that? So there's some consternation going on his face, very poorly hid, about the fact that he's not the only one meeting. Like, wheeling up, I noticed there are 4 people here instead of 1. And so there's like some... What? And then I listen to this. I'm actually going to remain quiet, but my face is just a play of emotions between consternation at Garrick being killed and who are these other people and what are they going to say? So I wait.
Cog has spent more than a sufficient amount of time to recognize your discomfort, and you hear him say, "Look, I'm sorry, Hex. This is just kind of the way it's got to be. You see, Blackthorn, he was important to me, and I'm getting a little bit too deep into some situations, and I need some help."
Oh, and so these are witnesses then?
No, Hex.
Informants of some
witnesses. Kind? Nope, not informants either.
Not informants, don't say that word.
Oh. Why is it a bad word here?
I look at Silas because I am Silas's informant.
Some people don't respond kindly to those kinds of words here, Hex.
Is there-
Look, I know you're from
Is
the
there like a
upper districts.
code word that I should be using?
Yet people,
Oh.
just
Got it.
persons. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I'll cut to the chase here. Blackthorn didn't just die. He was taken from us, and not by natural means. It was cold, calculated, and cloaked in a fair bit of shadow. The official story? He fell through a glass ceiling, off of a railing that conveniently was rusted in just the right ways for it to break. And, well,
Unofficially?
frankly, unofficially, he was tortured with dozens of cuts all over his body, slowly draining of his life. I think someone was questioning him, and every cut was likely an unanswered question. Or was done possibly just to inflict the most amount of pain possible. In the end, though, it doesn't matter. He's dead, and there's a situation brewing. And the more I get into this, the more I realize I need some help. And you know me, I'm not one to do this. I don't ask for things often, but I need to ask for help, and the four of you are the people that I trust most for this particular situation. Garrick was my friend, and I like to think that all of you are my friend too. I know that you may not have known Garrick. Blackthorn certainly isn't a name that many of you probably want to hear in a conversation. He's got his own past, and I respect that. But more than anything, he respected me. And he did no small amount of favor for me on the battlefield. And I think he deserves for someone to find out who really killed him. So this is your chance. You can get up. You can walk away. No hard feelings. But I think that there's a lot going on here. And I could use your hand.
Well, you know that I'm not going to get up and walk away from this.
That's a
No.
good one.
I don't imagine that you will, Hex. But I'll also understand if you don't want to potentially sully your father's good name. This might get dirty.
Did you just laugh?
No.
Do you
I didn't hear a laugh.
do you know who my father is?
Well, now I'm gonna laugh.
You are right
Who's your
there.
father?
What does he
What
do?
guy? Yeah, what's he do?
My
Bigwig?
father is hang on, I forgot his name.
You must not like him then.
Right?
Hurry, Hacks, tell us right now.
Right now,
Maybe
you have 3
Xavier.
seconds.
It's Xavier, but what's his last name? Darn it!
You didn't
What's
give
your
me a
last name?
Oh,
so-
yeah, we're a first name only family.
Very progressive.
He's Professor Xavier from the Morgrave Institute. He's master of alchemy. He's well
I
known
didn't go
in
to
many
college.
circles.
I don't know if you could tell. Not a school person, so.
You know, we're actually a very progressive school now. We take in all types.
As long as they've got the coin, right, Hex?
Well, I mean, of course, it's not free. Who would give away
Anyway,
knowledge for? Right, I apologize. I apologize. Let me start over. I am Professor Hex, also, but Hexander to my friends. I'm sure that your laughter was not at my expense. Just mistimed.
I had a tickle.
I get
Wait,
those.
so your friends have to call you Hexander, and then Hex is the shortened version that everyone else can call you.
Well, no, because you can call me Hex if you'd like. It just gets very confusing at the school when they're talking about, Hex and Professor Hex, and we're both Professor Hex technically. It's okay. It's okay. You can call me
Right.
Professor.
I'm not going to do that.
Or-
you're not my professor. So.
Or Hex. Hex is fine.
Yeah, I'll stick with that. Does Hex have any sort of...
Cog leans over to Riley and says, "Just don't call him Wheels. He doesn't like that."
Well, I'm an asshole. I'm not going to do that.
You'd be surprised.
Does Hex have any sort of like watch or anything on his wrists?
Sure.
Riley is gonna lean forward and offer him a hand, and she's gonna try to take the watch off of his wrist without him noticing.
Sure.
Riley, really nice to meet you, Hex.
All right then, let's see a sleight of hand versus Hex's passive perception. Unless,
my passive.
Jeremy, do you think that Hex would be caught on and astute enough to be looking out for such things?
Shelter child. Absolutely not.
First roll of my cheese dice has graced me most
Yes.
fortuitously.
You bought the cheese dice?
Bones got me the cheese dice.
Deb wouldn't let
Nice.
me buy her the cheese dice. Apparently it was
Aw.
an offense to people in Wisconsin or something.
Fucking lame.
Don't look at my cheese dice then. I got a 23.
Nice.
I'm
I-
pretty sure Hex does not have a 23
I have
passive
no
perception. Okay, you now hold a nice silver and gold wristwatch.
I just, as I kind of bring my hand back from the handshake, I pocket it. And I
Actually,
look to the other two.
you notice that he's very sure as he goes to take your hand, but then there's this moment of unsureness is really and his grip kind of shakes a little in your hand. Yes, well, it's not often that I get out to see non-students.
Right. It's this might be a good time then, since no one has gotten up from the table and run away screaming at the mention of anything I've discussed thus far. Riley, Silas, Liza, Hex. You all, I'm hoping, will be helping me in the next few days.
Riley, I think she kind of leans back. And I feel like Cog would know that she's about to ask for money. But she holds back because of their history together.
Sure.
And she'll sort of lean forward again. Yeah, I'll help you, I guess. Kindness of my heart and everything.
Well, we wouldn't want anyone to let it get out that you have kindness in your heart, Riley, now, would we?
It's buried deep, deep in there.
Don't worry, your secret's safe with me. Just so you all are aware, I'm sure that you know some of these details, but Blackthorn wasn't exactly your ordinary underworld type figure. He delved into realms most people would rather leave untouched. He kind of glares at Liza for a half second. Collecting artifacts that whispered of old things, sometimes darker truths. This collection of his was a bit of an obsession, and I think it might be related to his end. I was speaking with him just a week ago, in fact. He was asking me to investigate a couple of things from the war. he apparently had some new addition to his collection, some new artifact dating back to the last war, something from beyond Corvair. He seemed to think it might even be from beyond the rings of Cyberus. He wouldn't tell me what it was and all, but he knew it was potentially not good if it fell into the wrong hands. So he didn't give me a whole lot to go on.
Do you have any inkling as to who the wrong hands might be?
Well, there's a lot of people involved. This isn't just about some missing artifact or a single horrifying act of violence. I'm finding my way trapped into a bit of a web of more intrigue than I'm usually comfortable with. We've got threads pointing and pulling in the trust, the dragon-marked houses, even whispers of involvement by Vitus Ferro. Black Cross might be interested. There's all kinds of knots in this web that Gareth's death is kind of tangled up in. And that's where we're coming in. We need to try to suss out pretty quickly where the threats might be and who is just, sniffing their nose in places. The fall of the Blackthorn has left a bit of a void, and there's more than a handful of people that are interested in stepping in, and I'm sure more than that even handful that want to know about his hoard and what all artifacts he had collected. And well, this is just a bit more over my head. Garrick and I might have had our differences, but I know he respected me, and that respect was mutual. So, I'm not going to let his killer roam free, and with your skills, I think we might just have a chance at solving it. And yes, Ryrelay, there might be some coin involved too. I've got a few people potentially interested in the story, and he kind of looks over at Silas. And a story like this, if it involves people of these kinds of names, it's going to sell well. At the very least, it'll sell to someone that doesn't want the information to come out. But I don't care if the information comes out or not as much as I care about finding out who killed my friend.
Silas will just sort of reach over and pat him on his metallic chest and just say, sounds like a good bit of fun.
I'm going to remind you later that you said that. Just saying.
Ominous.
What about you, Liza? You think that piracy can take a few days off?
You know I'm in. I owe you more than one.
No. You help me do this and we can call it square. Maybe
Sure.
a coffee in addition.
And you do know that, if you need funds for any of this, I can speak to my father and I'm sure I can get coin for what you need.
Look, Hex, your father's great and all. We've had some interesting conversations over breakfast. But I don't think he likes me as much as you say he does.
Oh, he's always talking about you.
Right.
I mean, not always. That not in a weird way, but he's very active in making sure that I am being part of the world.
Right. I'm glad for that. I'm glad that you think that. But frankly, Hex, whenever your father's in the room, I have this strange feeling that he doesn't like me. And I'm a pretty good investigator. Most people can't keep such lies away from me. So either he is an amazing liar, or there's something else going on that frankly I don't want to know about. So in this particular interest, I think it would be best if we just left your father out of it.
I do have my own funds as well. I'm just saying, if anyone needs anything.
Look, no, it's... He kind of glances at Ryrelay like, no.
I didn't know that, like, teachers made that much. I thought that teachers weren't. I thought that... I'm surprised.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah. Hex,
we have family money too.
Hex, don't talk about your money.
Oh.
Okay, good to know.
Oh, because we're in a seedy kind of joint.
I like
Excellent.
Just very low-key take the watch that I snagged, because I hadn't really looked at it too in depth, but I take the watch out and I'm like, I look at it a little bit further just to be like, oh, is this worth like a lot of money?
It's got a couple of like cut gemstones at the top, the north, south, east, and west, points.
Family money, got it. All right, well, must be nice.
Anyway, I think we should probably head back to my office then, and we can discuss things a bit further. Let's just go then. And he goes to stand up, and as soon as he stands up, he kind of glances over the railing of the mezzanine down in the first level, and you all hear him under his breath, trying to be silent, but you hear it fairly clearly as he says, "Fuck me." And a couple of you glance over the edge. Hex, you're like sitting farther away, so you can't really see over the edge, but the rest of you are able to notice what appears to be 4 individuals, their hoods drawn up, definition of seedier types with their cloaks. Who has the highest passive perception among you, not including Hex?
21.
I think it's you.
You almost saw the little stealthy pickpocket there.
Almost.
Silas, you very easily are able to spot that one of the individuals has a tattoo mark of a twisting snake on the left side of their face. What appears to be a representative of the Dusk Fang Syndicate. Someone that Silas and probably Liza as well, Rivalry maybe not so much, would know as paid mercenaries that will basically do any job for the right amount of coin. The type of individuals that you don't want to have looking for you. And they appear to be looking around the room. One of them, the gentleman with the mark upon his face, looks up and locks eyes with Cog for a moment. And Cog kind of ducks back away, and he just looks at all of you and he says, "All right, get the fuck out of here as fast as you can and meet me back at my offices." And then he jumps over the railing.
Well, he's gone. Bye. And Ryrelay's gonna try to duck into the crowd.
There's not much of a crowd up here, and other than the way that Cog went, there's only one way down a set of stairs. To get down into the lower level. You all hear the crash as Cog lands upon a table, and then he apparently bolts for the door, and a couple of the individuals chase after him. There's still a couple more present. Now,
I'm gonna
just to
cast
kind of
invisibility on myself then.
Perfect. No one can see Ryrelay anymore. Just to give you all a sense of things. There are, as I had described before, a handful of windows that look out into the streets of this place, but none of them are like sufficiently large enough for normal-sized folk such as yourselves to really open and squeeze through. Some of them probably can't even open. You see, they're like, they can barely be seen through. They're that dirty and such. There is just the one stairwell leading down into the main level. You do know that there is a back way to this place, because on your way in, you kind of saw there was a hallway leading, towards the back. There's the front door that you came into. There's also that entire other half of the establishment that is just a stone wall with a couple of doors leading in and out that ostensibly leads to some other pathways, and maybe there's a way out that way as well. But, yeah. Liza, Silas, and Hex, what would you like to do as you hear you hear some commotion from down below, and quite possibly someone coming up the stairs hastily.
Liza is also going to jump over the railing.
Okay. Silas?
Knowing where Cog's place is, would it make more sense for me to go out the front door or the back door?
It doesn't matter. It's like a district away, more than a few streets of running and such. Right now, your biggest danger of getting out of this place is, having someone with a crazy ass snake tattooed on their face come up to you and maybe shank you in the back. So that's your more important worry.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be the first time. I'll just shit, and then run down the stairs. I'm not jumping over the edge. My knees hurt too much. And I'll make chase.
And Hex, do you have a particular plan to get out of here, knowing, well, to be perfectly honest, this is not an ideal situation for you?
Yeah, well, so starting off, I'm like, oh, a bar brawl, this is fantastic. And I reach down and start like pulling things out from like little cubbies that are on Sterling. And then I realize everyone has fled.
You see Silas,
Right.
disappearing down the stairs, and none of the others are anywhere to be seen.
Oh, I'll catch up with you. And I'm actually trying to find something about my defender. Sorry, I can't remember if they have a crawl or a climb.
That's okay. I'll get back to you.
Cool, thanks.
So Liza, let's see. Do you have the whole monk featherfall thing yet, or is that a later level thing?
Sure
You
do.
got it now? Okay,
Yep.
cool. Yeah. You don't even have to roll anything. You just leap over the fall, the like 10, 12 feet down onto the main level. As you do that, one of the hooded figures that was headed towards the stairs stops, turns, and sees you, and just says, "Oi, you're coming with me."
I'm going to try and run out the door.
You just booking it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You could also spend a key point, I think, for your step of the wind and be able to dash and all that stuff. Or are you really just hauling ass as fast as you can to get out of there?
I think I'll just haul ass for now.
Okay, good call. As you make your way outside, go ahead and give me a perception check, please.
19.
19. You see several other cloaked individuals outside. It was definitely a squad of these folks, probably 8 in total. And you see 4 of them giving chase down the street, possibly going after Cog. You're not entirely sure, but you see a couple more standing there right by. You're just running the opposite direction, I assume, to get away from them. You don't want a confrontation?
I am going to try and follow where I think Cog went, just to make sure that he's got...
That'll lead you directly into confrontation with these 2 guys.
I do want to evade them.
You can easily evade them if you want to at this point. You are fast enough
Yeah.
that if you go the opposite direction, it's really difficult for mooks to catch up to you.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got, a little bit of, drink to go with. So
Yeah, I'll go the opposite direction then.
yeah. You very quickly take a sip of whiskey. And is whiskey Liza's drink of choice? Yeah.
Yep.
Take a sip of whiskey and just start hauling ass. You do hear them giving chase, but it doesn't take very long for you to very easily outrun them. Ryrelay, are you doing anything in particular now that you have your invisibility methodology for escape?
I am just like the shadows just envelop me, and then I'm gone, and I'm going down the stairs and out the back, heading towards Cog's office. I do as I'm told. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I do as I'm told. And I'm
Just
out.
one that goes invisible and steals watches worth more money than
No one
than
could
most
prove
people
anything.
make in a year.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about
You
it.
say.
that nobody saw. Yeah, you are easily able to make your way out the back. It is also worth mentioning that as you go to the back, you can see that the back is covered as well. There's a couple of individuals kind of making their way in that you just kind of deftly managed to sidestep. They apparently had no inclinations of things such as people turning invisible to get the fuck out of Dodge. So you have it pretty well free and clear. Silas, on the other hand, does not have it free and clear as he meets two individuals in the stairwell face to face that are basically like, hey, you're coming with me.
Gentlemen, I think he will, I think he's just gonna fucking try to bowl them over and, like, zip past them.
All right. Go ahead and give me an athletics or acrobatics check, please.
I would love to. Dirty 20.
Nice. Let me just roll for them. That's a 6 for one of them, and an 18 for the other. So you
Son of a
bowl
bitch.
over one of them just like easily, completely catching him off guard. He falls flat on his ass, ends up with his head like banging against the stairs a couple of times and getting dazed. He reaches out and grabs onto his friend and starts pulling his friend down. You leap over him. The one friend reaches out and like grabs onto your ankle for a half second, almost enough to like cause you to stumble, but you basically leap down the stairs, managing to deftly avoid Hex. Have you figured out how you're getting out of this mess?
I mean, who knows what will happen, but so Silas, you've made it past, right?
And there are
Okay.
two individuals on the stairs basically that are falling on their ass.
Excellent. So those still in the bar hear, "Ayo, Sterling, away!" And the wheelchair starts rolling forward, but its wheels like start clanking as it turns, like they unfold and turn into legs, and it's going to move at a speed of 40 down the stairs and over these prone fellows. They will get attacks of
All right.
opportunity at disadvantage because they're prone, but
Don't you just crush their spines? Isn't that
right.
the
Well,
thing?
yeah, that was my next question. Is there a piloting wheelchair skill? Do you use athletics? Is it your spellcasting? How does your wheelchair steel defender piloting work?
I mean, because it's its own creature, like it is an automaton.
Oh.
I just
Gotcha,
am riding
just
it.
Ride it.
Right.
All right. Cool. Let's call this then a athletics check for your steel defender,
Okay.
and I'm going to give you advantage because of their prone situation. I'm assuming that Hex is not proficient in athletics.
No, that's the one he is weak in.
Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, I'm guessing it would just be the steel defender's strength modifier, probably.
Yeah. So that is a 21.
Okay.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Okay. You hear crunching and screaming as some bones from arms and or legs, thankfully no skulls, get crushed. But there was definitely there's definitely some gentlemen here who are going to need to visit a cleric very quickly, as you just basically like crush them going down the stairs. You hear from the screams of agony. Silas hears this cacophony of chaos and noise behind him, as the two of you are basically now standing down in this main area with two additional gentlemen at the doors. There's the back way, but you hear two people coming from that way as well.
That's my movement. And I will like
Sure.
look behind and be like, I'm so sorry.
No, you're not.
Can I so we go on the same initiative. Sorry, this is my first artificer. We go on the same initiative. Can I use a spell?
Sure. This is not a combat initiative type situation that we're dealing with here. This is more of an encounter type situation. And when I feel like they have an opportunity to actually do something to you, like try to trip you up in the stairs, which was, very effective, I will intercede. So you have a moment that you could do something if you feel that it's something that Hex would do.
Okay. So he has this like rod that looks like it has all these like weird parts that have been folded into it. It's very weird to look at. But he reaches over to it and slips
Hex has
out.
a weird rod. Got
He
it.
does have a weird rod. It's all like bendy in some areas and knobby in others, and it's really
Got a little
weirdly
bit of a left
textured.
twist.
And it actually does expand. It gets longer or shorter.
He can control that though, right? He has a lot.
Yeah. He's really practiced a lot of control at that. Right. So he pulls off a little like ball that begins to whir, and he like throws it up towards Silas, granting you a warding bond. As long as you're within 60 feet of me, you get +1 bonus to your AC and saving throws. You have resistant to all damage. And if you take damage, I take the same amount of damage. It's feedback
off.
through the rod, I guess.
Yeah. It's basically like you have resistance to damage, but any damage that you resisted, Hex takes instead.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so you guys are basically getting surrounded and outnumbered very quickly.
Well, shit. I really just want to be like, what's that? And then, escape.
I mean, pull off a performance check and you might get enough of a distraction. You do have a high enough level that you have bonus action dash, so...
Look, it's Taylor Swift!
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know what? Fuck it. Let's do a performance roll. Solid 7.
Yeah, you do that, they glance up and they draw swords on you.
That's cool. I draw one right back. It's fine.
Do you have anything to do here, Hex, or are you guys gonna just stand here and square off against these 4 guys?
Hex is kind of babbling excitedly to you, Silas.
Adventure!
Right?
Get it together, man.
This is my first bar brawl. I'm so excited. Oh, wait. And I'm going to pull out a little bottle that's like it's like a jar that's been molded into 2 separate parts, and at the top it has like a little divider, and I pull the divider out and shake it, and then I open it. And is there a group of them that are more in a line? Like, can I hit more than one of them if I shoot a line at them?
Yeah, you basically had 2 people in a hallway right behind you,
Yeah,
so...
great. They need to make dexterity saving throws.
DC...
Yes.
Well, the first one rolled a natural 1. The second one got a 14.
15 is my DC.
Well, that's not good enough.
They're both going to take... seven acid damage.
Oh. So this is basically just like a stream of acid that fires out of this crazy-ass alchemical bottle.
Right? At the start of their turn, they'll take that. If they don't use their action to scrape it off at the start of each other turn, they're going to continue taking that for
All right.
1 minute.
Okay. You spray this line of acid down the hallway behind. You hear screams of, "Ow! Fuck! Why is it burning? Jesus!" The two guys in front of you basically charge the both of you and attack you all with some swords. So first one on you, Silas, is a 17.
Yep, that hits.
Second one on, well, that's a 19, which I assume hits Hex.
So my defender is going to use its reaction to impose disadvantage as like one of the wheel arms comes up and tries to deflect it.
Fine.
That's sick.
14?
14 misses.
All right. Well, Silas, you get stabbed or slashed across the chest for 6 points of damage.
Fuck.
So you'll take 3 and I'll take 3.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah. So what does that look like for Hex? Does he like take a slash as well across his chest, kind of mimicry style, or is it more like psychic damage that he feels the pain of?
I feel like it's like feedback through the control rod, like because the little thing is like flying around and it deflects
So
part
he, like,
of it.
so he kind of like gets electrocuted, like
Right.
Ooh.
Bill Murray torture style. You're squaring off against these two guys.
Yeah.
You gonna flee from it, or are you gonna fight it?
I honestly, I think Silas will attempt to flee. Same as on the stairs. I think he wants to just slip right past the two and ideally out the door if possible.
I mean, bonus action, disengage,
Yeah.
move past, action to run, get the fuck out of there. Do you say
Yeah.
anything to Hex as you like slip between these two guys, deftly avoiding their blades?
No, I don't. But as I bust my way out the door, I'll throw up the hood of my cloak, and I'll make it look like I'm running around like the outside of the open door, but I'll sort of catch my foot on it and wait a second, and ideally when they're distracted by Hex, I'd like to do some shanking.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Hex, you see your newfound friend Silas be just like, peace, and bolt the door. Your passive perception is not sufficient enough for him, and as he pulls up a hooded cloak and seems to kind of mystify a little bit, and you lose sight of him. So now it's just you squaring off against the two guys in front with swords and the two guys behind you burning in acid.
Enjoy
It's
your
all
first
right.
bar fight.
It's all right. I've got this. Go on and meet Cog. Make sure he's okay. What would you say a chair weighs?
I don't know. You tell me. I mean, this is your steel defender.
5 pounds? More than 5 pounds?
You mean like one of these table chairs
Yeah.
in the bar? Yeah, these are like pretty cheaply made, like, 5-pound chairs.
So this little using my like command rod, I point it at a chair and it begins to glow and like build up force. There was like this weird pressure almost building between them, and then it just launches towards one of the dudes. He needs to make a dex save.
That is a 12.
15. He's gonna take 18 bludgeoning damage.
Okay, you just like magical Mary Poppins this chair up into the space. He's not even paying attention. He's like, "Oh, I got you now." Sword up, and then crash. His head goes flying sideways. Just kind of looks at you with this dazed expression, and then falls backwards and just slams into the ground.
That's what I was waiting for. Sterling was going to climb over him on the way out. I'm going to be like, "Be careful. Step cautiously. Don't smoosh him, okay?" And then run out after Silas.
Okay, the the guy, his friend standing next to him, is just looking at him and then watching you, and just like takes the sword and puts it in his scabbard and just like backs off. He's like, I didn't get paid enough for this shit. Your steel defender just like daintily moves over top of the guy. You're pretty sure he steps on a pinky. And you make your way to the door. As you exit out the door, you can see Silas standing behind the door as you two lock eyes with each other.
I'm holding it open for him.
That was
at the very least.
fantastic.
Well done. A bit louder than I prefer to be, but
Oh, I didn't know there was like an etiquette to this kind of thing.
we'll talk later. Let's go.
There are more inside if you wanted to wait.
Nope. We gotta move.
The two of you start making your way down the street. Silas knows that he should probably go a surreptitious route to get to Hex's or to get to Cog's office, but you are able to fairly effectively, having been there many a time, lead Hex to Cog's office. Riley, no problems whatsoever in your invisible state, and Liza, you are certainly going to make it there well before anyone else.
I started making my way back. Like, God damn it, where are all of these other fools?
It's gonna take at least 10 minutes to get there, so you still got some time. But yes, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, with the evening's rain and night descending upon all of you, Cog leading these nefarious individuals away, and the rest of you hastily making your way to Cog's office to meet up with him later, that's where we're going to take our break.
Excellent.
We will be back here in just a few minutes. Please take care of yourselves, get some refreshing water, relieve yourselves wherever you might do such things, and please come back here and join us in just a few minutes.
Usually in the restroom, right?
Usually, but I don't like to make assumptions.
That's true. That's fair. Safe. Yeah. We'll be right back.
Bye for now. Hey, we're back. Maybe. I don't know if we're actually back. Jeremy hasn't told me that we're actually back yet. I'm just rolling with it until he looks at me and says that we are back. Yeah, you're producing, right? Okay. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. We are returning to this lovely little mystery intrigue adventure with an amazing cast of characters that have finally come together and learned at least just the subtlest little taste of what the mystery before them might entail. They have just managed to evade capture, accosting, potential murdering by a group of paid ne'er-do-wells that were seemingly most distracted by the gentleman that had brought them all together, Cog. But no worries at all. Everyone is planning to just run away and meet up at Cog's offices in the next district up here in the city of Sean. Liza, I think we had pretty well established, is going to get there well before anyone else, thanks to drunkard speed. Does Liza have any way of getting into Cog's office before everyone arrives?
Liza has a mystery key?
Kick the door down. Come on, monk.
She's just gonna try the mystery key and see
Okay.
if
Go
it'll
for
let her
it.
in.
It's like a percentage chance thing that it actually lets you in, right?
Yeah, it's a 5% chance. I rolled a 14, so that's not gonna let me in.
Yeah.
I'll just-
You sit there and fiddle with the key a little bit. It once again lets you down. You've tried this on like 100 doors at this point and still not managed to get in. So, at some point it's going to work. At least that's what the strange lady with the glass globe that had read your future fortunes had told you would happen. In the meantime, you are chilling there. Riley shows up, maybe still invisible. It would take less than an hour to get there, so I'm assuming that you don't drop the invisibility until you need to.
Yeah, I think that she would actually be sort of watching Liza. Kind of getting the feel for the vibe.
What's Liza's vibe? As she
Liza
waits.
is just sitting there. I probably have like a gold coin or something that I'm just like flipping and waiting for everyone else to show up.
That's like putting a carrot in front of a horse for Riley. She's just watching that gold coin go up and down.
Does Riley have any methods for getting into Cog's office?
Nah, she could break open a window, but she's respectful and a law-abiding citizen, so she won't do that.
Gotcha. Cool. So some minutes later, Silas and Hex arrive. Silas knows how to get into Cog's office. Silas knows where the spare key is, even if he didn't already know how to pick the rather basic lock that he has constantly told Cog needs to be upgraded. So Silas and Hex, you two arrive. You see Liza just leaning up against the wall next to Cog's office door, flipping a gold coin.
You see an almost entirely smoked down cigarette in Silas's mouth, and he looks so fucking annoyed. But he comes over and he fiddles around and finds that spare key and just tells everyone to...
Is it
Liza's
'cause-
gonna just like pluck the cigarette out of his mouth and take the last drag.
Is he annoyed because Hex is still talking when you get there?
We were trying to be discreet. I was trying to be discreet.
Right.
You all do
Quiet.
see a cut in Silas's shirt across his chest.
Ain't no thing. Let's go.
So the three of you step into Cog's office. Does Riley make herself visible, or?
She's gonna kind of sidle up next to Silas and then drop the invisibility. Hey, you guys got here. Heard quite a commotion.
Bit freaky when you do that, you know.
Do what?
Nothing.
Oh, all right.
Is there a
where's the old
chance
guy?
that what's Liza and Hexa's passive insights?
15.
15.
Yeah, I would say the two of you. I mean, I'll leave it up to you, Jeremy, whether or not this would be something Hex, like one of those things that Hex is just oblivious to or not. But I think you certainly have enough of passive insight between the two of you that you'd be able to pick up on Silas and Riley having a little bit of knowing banter between each other there. So, Cog's office. Tucked away in Lower Dura, Caliston to be specific, where the towers loom a bit too close, casting long shadows that seem to stretch into eternity. This third floor of a fairly nondescript building, it's an easy miss unless you're looking for it. The office itself marked only by a somewhat faded sign that reads Cog Investigations. You step inside and it's like stepping back in time. The first thing that hits you is the smell. A mix of old paper, the faint tang of oil and whiskey, and a hint of tobacco smoke that seeped into the very walls. It's dim, the only light filtering in through grimy windows that paint the room in streaks of nighttime gray. The place is cluttered. Oh, yes, but every piece of that clutter has its story, its purpose. The desk, a solid piece that's seen better days, is buried under piles of case files, news sheets, and seemingly random tomes that Cog consults for his more unusual cases. There's an old sturdy chair behind the desk and a couple of mismatched ones on the other side of the room, their cushions worn thin by age and visitors seeking help or hiding from their past. Shelves line the walls, groaning under the weight of more files, objects from past cases, and a collection of what some might generously call curiosities. Nestled among the papers and dusty tomes on these shelves, there are a couple of brain teasers that catch the eye. A brass orb that looks like a miniature of the night sky, all dotted with tiny stars. You have to twist and turn to those so that the constellations line up just right before it clicks open. There's also a little wooden box carved to mimic Sharn's jagged skyline, a crafty piece, seemingly without a single seam in sight. And then there's the ambiance. It's always a bit too dark, the air a bit too still, as if the office itself is holding its breath, waiting for the next piece of the puzzle to walk through the door. The occasional creak of the building settles you into a place that feels suspended in time, a little pocket of the world where mysteries come to rest. You're sitting here in this space, looking about the room, familiar to all of you to some degree. Some of you have spent more time here than others. And you wait. And you wait. And you wait. And there is no sign of Cog coming to meet you.
Did we actually see him, like, get away, or do you think that he...
Don't know.
As they've been waiting around, Silas sort of, takes a gander at his desk, pushes some papers around, kind of nosy, and you sort of hear him just grumble like, he's got to get fucking organized. And then I guess he'll just sit in that chair as if it was his own, kick his feet up, and just wait.
Give me an acrobatics check, please.
Oh, Christ. Am I going to fall out of this chair?
Might.
I am. It's actually going to kill me.
What'd you get?
That is a 5. I rolled a natural 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this chair, you see, was weighted and balanced for a warforged, which
Fuck me.
notably have differences in their weight distribution in their body than humans such as Silas. And so he leans back in the chair expecting it to stop and catch him, and very quickly finds himself falling backwards, ass over tea kettle, landing very, very gracelessly upon the floor, the chair tumbling to the side and almost, clonking him in the head.
First time sitting, or...
Uh-huh. Yeah. He'll just sort of lay there for a moment. Yeah, all right. And just sit up, get up, brush himself off a bit, right the chair, and then just sort of stand in the corner.
You all do anything or discuss anything of particular note with each passing minute it goes by that Cog does not return?
I'm going to roll outside and kind of look
like
around.
Into the hallway, or like down 3 flights of stairs outside?
Is there a window?
There is. It's a little bit dirty, but there's a window.
Does it open?
Sure.
I'll go to the window and open it and kind of look out. Is there are we looking out onto the street here? Is there an alley behind?
Yeah, so you look out onto the street. It is lower Dura, so it's not a nice street by any stretch of the imagination. Calistan is it's one of those places that you personally, Hex, have been warned never to go to, because, bad things happen to people that go to Calistan. So it's interesting in that regard.
I'm gonna look around and just make sure that there's no one watching the building, no one eyeing this window.
Give me a perception check.
That is a 21.
You don't notice anyone in particular paying attention to this place. You do see a few people that are casually passing by that kind of glance up and see you leaning out the window. But it's kind of a situation of, oh, that's weird. And then they just keep walking. And your passive insight being what it was, you aren't getting any vibes of anything untoward happening, or people specifically looking for your particular window or your particular face.
And I'm going to take out a leather pouch that has Stanley in it and pull the rabbit out and take the control rod and turn on the infusion that animates Stanley. Can you find Cog? And just toss him out the window.
Tosses this mechanical winged rabbit out the window. It catches itself in the air and kind of bobbles a little bit and turns and looks back at him and seems to have this expressionless face. Then looks left, looks right, and just starts flying off in a random direction.
Then I'll
Can
just
I
wait.
look around? Open some drawers. Be
Yeah.
nosy.
Sure. Give me an investigation check.
It's going to be an 11.
Hog is a disorganized, absolute hot mess. When it comes to investigations, he has a lot of instinct, and that's probably the only thing that gets him through his job. He has no organizational skills whatsoever. You are fairly certain that the vast majority of these books have been opened maybe once and then tossed on a shelf and, have collected a massive amount of dust. You have no sense of any which way to look in this mess, and you very quickly find yourself getting frustrated as hell.
Yeah, I really just she's tossing shit around at this point as she's trying to dig through things, and she's just like, how the fuck did he get anything done over here?
Silas is watching Ryrelay amused as she struggles through all of this, and he'll also be kind of looking around, but I'll just use my 23 passive investigation just to try to pick up things in the space. I'm imagining that Ryrelay picks something up and I notice things underneath it, and
All right, we'll come back to Mr. 23 here in a second.
Yeah.
Would Liza be doing or saying anything to anyone in this situation?
I think Liza's just sitting in the corner watching everyone do their thing, still kind of flipping her coin, and she'll look at Hex and be like, is that rabbit gonna take a long time? Should we go out and look for him?
You think we should? I don't know. I don't know what the etiquette is for a situation like this.
You're big on etiquette, aren't you?
I believe everyone should be big on etiquette.
Because?
Well, because without manners, the world is just chaos.
Yeah, and it's great.
It's great. This is ending up being a little more frustrating than I expected it to be.
What were you expecting?
Well, I just thought that Cog wanted to use my knowledge of things to help him. I've helped him in the past with cases. Very important cases, I'm sure.
I'm sure. How do you know Cog?
Oh, that's rather personal. I don't really know you that well. Maybe once this is all over, we could all go out for a drink and not get into a brawl, and then I could get to know you all. Or you could come over for breakfast. Cog often comes over for breakfast.
That's not. You don't normally invite someone over for breakfast. For like chit chat.
Well,
That's
well
weird.
yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Well, normally when you're having breakfast with someone, it's not you inviting them over. It's because they stayed the night.
He's already dark purple, and as he stares at you, he just gets darker and darker purple, and then just turns his wheelchair to look out the window.
Right, you're gonna
End
kill
of that
him.
conversation. Well, I don't. Am I about to teach him about the birds and the bees? Like,
What about
Best that you
birds?
I think it's fairly safe to say at this point, Liza recognizes the highborn status, we'll call it, of Professor Hex, having known maybe a few people in her past with such behaviors. But coming back to Silas with that passive investigation of 23, Silas, you notice among the shelf trinkets, the box of the Sharn skyline has one of the towers slightly out of alignment. On one of your previous times within the office, you and Cog went through his collection, ever-expanding collection of puzzles, and you know it is not supposed to be like that. And with just a few twists and clicks, maybe getting confused for one or two of them, trying to remember how to open it, you do eventually manage to open the little puzzle box, and inside you find a small leather-bound notebook, barely as big as the palm of your hand. Within it, you find the pages filled with cryptic notes on various leads and sources. But the most recent entry is marked with a symbol that you and Cog had used as a signal of high importance on one of your previous cases. A coded entry that could contain the location of a dead drop, a meeting point, a hidden cache of evidence. You're not sure at this moment. It's going to take you a little bit of time to go through the coded words and cryptic writings that are in Cog's very, very noticeable handwriting. But before you are able to really get to that, you all hear a slight rustling of noise outside of the door, and then the sound of paper shuffling underneath the door to Cog's office. It can't be good kind of note that appears when you least expect it. Liza being pretty much right next to the door, you reach down and pick it up, and it has just a few words that cause you to hold your breath in silence. It's an invitation to the Gilded Orchid for an immediate conversation with the proprietor. But it's the signature that gets you, Liza. A black painted cross inside of a circle. The mark of the Black Cross. A noted criminal organization with its hands in just about everything within Sharn. This is one of those invitations that you know you cannot ignore. The Gilded Orchid is a bathhouse, and this particular place serves as a headquarters of sorts for the cross. You all see Liza sitting there holding the paper, not saying anything, just staring at it.
I'm not sure that you should be reading Cog's mail.
He's not here to read it.
Well, I'm sure he'll be here any moment.
I don't think so.
Maybe we should ask the person who delivered that if they saw him. Coming up the stairs, perhaps.
I like your optimism, but I don't think it's gonna help us.
Well, what's the bad news? Why does your face look like that?
My face always looks like this, thank you. We have an invitation.
To?
I'll pass the note around.
Well, fuck.
Is this to us? How would anyone know that we are here?
Probably because they followed us. Honestly.
You're not exactly discreet.
Yeah. Well, I was. You guys less so.
Uh-huh.
That one's on me.
Not your fault. You've got that aura about you.
It's an aura, alright.
Well, doesn't do well to dwell on these types of invitations.
So I do have to ask, do I even know what that is?
No, I
Okay.
would say Hex has no clue about the location, the Black Cross, none of it. I don't think anyone's even mentioned that the Gilded Orchid is a bathhouse yet. So for all he knows, it's a flower shop.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a nice place.
It's nice. You're gonna love it.
If
Really upstanding folks there.
Yep.
Do you have something different to wear?
Lots of etiquette. It's great.
we should go.
Do you have a nicer coat? Something.
Do you think I should go home and change?
No. I'm fucking with you. Well,
Pardon me, my cat is getting in the way.
cats are catting.
No such thing.
What would you like to do?
I guess
You'll
we're
need
heading
it.
to the Gilded Orchid.
Do anything, or are we just gonna go?
Do you need to change? Freshen up or anything?
Me?
No. It was a generally asked question if anyone needed to change or freshen up or,
Sir, that's rather rude.
he starts turning
saying
dark
that
purple
we're
again.
dirty and stinky?
I'm just saying that if we're going to a nice establishment, we've been in a bar brawl tonight.
You're
Your
using
shirt
we
is
a whole lot.
your shirt is just in shambles with its like single cut, and
Just one.
I
nip
know
out.
I probably am just drenched with stress sweat.
I was gonna say something. I think we're fine. I think we need to
We'll
just get the fuck
We
on
are
with
going
this.
to a bathhouse, which is like if you're gonna be dirty and stinky, like that's the place you want to go, dirty and stinky, you know?
Oh,
Sweaty.
that does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know.
You're learning.
I should take notes on this. And he pulls out a little notepad.
Miko,
Yes.
would Silas be inclined to take that little notebook with him?
Yes.
Okay. Wasn't sure if it was something I should leave, but I'll
The fact that Cog had it hidden in one of his puzzle boxes
yeah.
tells you that he expected for someone to come, ransack his office or something, and didn't want it to be found. So
Perfect. I'll tuck it away. Nice and safe.
that particular puzzle box is one of those ones that just looks like it's like a little ornamentation, curio thing. It does not look like a puzzle box at first glance. It's something that you have to kind of know that it is before you would delve into finding its secret.
Perfect. Well, let's get the fuck on with it.
So, would any of you like to do anything particular of note in preparation for headed to the Gilded Orchid?
Be careful asking that question. People take great offense.
All right, then. As you leave Cog's office, you make your way across Sharn on one of those nights where the rain's coming down so hard it almost feels personal. It's the kind of downpour that washes the city clean, or tries to, at least. You're headed to Cliffside, where the edges of Sharn get a little rough, a little more honest, maybe. The streets are slick, shiny like an oil spill, reflecting in the lights of the city that flicker with a kind of desperate hope against the darkness. You're dodging puddles that are more like ponds, and the whole district's got that wet stone smell. It's earthy, real, and under that is the faint hint of the Dagger River. Smell that tells you stories if you're willing to listen. You can hear the hustle of a handful of dock workers, too, moving crates of goods likely not right to be moved during the daylight hours. People upon the streets often avert their gaze from you as you pass, but occasionally your eyes are met with steely stares of implied threat. Out of the gloom of Cliffside, the Gilded Orchid appears. It's like something from a dream or a fanciful chapbook story. It sticks out among the warehouses and taverns like a stately woman wearing a diamond necklace at a dockside bar. The light from the orchid spills out onto the street, golden and inviting. From the moment you cross the orchid's threshold, you're enveloped in a world that seems almost too luxurious to belong to the gritty streets of this part of Sharn. The air is thick with the scent of exotic oils, perfumes, mingling with the underlying, almost imperceptible tang of something darker. The decor is opulence incarnate. Marble columns that stretch up to the frescoed ceilings, golden fixtures gleaming in the soft ambient light, and plush carpets that swallow the sound of your steps. But as your eyes adjust to the grandeur, the veneer of respectability starts to slip. You notice the way shadows cling a little too comfortably in the corners, and how the laughter from the patrons carries a certain edge to it. It's clear that this is where some of the city's elite and wealthy come to play, but the games they're involved in are far from the innocent pleasures the surroundings might suggest. The patrons, draped in silks and crystal, might look the part of the nobility, but their eyes tell a different story, one of greed, ambition, and ruthlessness. Here, alliances are formed not with handshakes, but with whispered promises in steam-shrouded corners where the steam seems to carry words like secrets meant to be overheard only by the right ears. Stepping into the main chamber of the Gilded Orchid feels like walking into the den of a predator, where the air is thick with more than just steam. It's grand, with arched ceilings high above, and the water in the central pool glinting like black onyx, a liquid mirror reflecting the opulent chandeliers above. The chamber is ringed with alcoves, shrouded in sheer curtains, promising privacy and echoes of quiet deals made in hushed tones. In this main chamber, you see quite clearly Mr. Cross, a dragonborn of towering height with the scales of a color deep, angry red mixed with contours of an almost volcanic black. A hue that seems to smolder with the man's inner fire, his emerald green eyes cut through the mist of the bathhouse, sharp and penetrating, a gaze that could unravel your secrets from across the room. His scales bristle slightly as he sits in the water, a subtle but clear sign that this is a man not to be trifled with. As he rises from the bath, the water beads on his scales, catching the light as he moves. He is a vision of casual power as he wraps himself in a white silken robe, a stark contrast to his crimson and onyx hide. The robe's beauty is not lost on the room. It's like he has donned his authority, and it fits him as perfectly as his own scales. The scattered patrons, they know this dance well. It's a cue almost as clear as if he had rung a bell. With not so much as a backward glance, they clear out. Their departure is smooth and silent as shadows at dusk. Except for Udo. She does not move. She is like a statue carved from midnight, presence as palpable as the heat of the room. An elven woman dressed in tight leather attire, she is the promise of danger in a place of indulgence. The edge of a blade in a room full of silk. Those haunting white eyes of hers, they don't miss a thing, and you are certain she already knows every potential threat you might offer. The swords on her back, hooked and deadly, they tell you that she is no mere ornament. Along with the collection of smaller blades sheathed many places across her form, she is a walking arsenal, a lethal guardian whose weapons are as much a part of her as her own flesh and blood. In his bathrobe, Mr. Cross might seem to be at ease, but his posture tells a different tale, one of readiness, calculated composure. And those eyes, those sinister green eyes, they miss nothing. They're the eyes of a predator, of a dragonborn who's seen the rise and fall of many a powerful individual, of fortunes made and lives shattered. You know that when you meet Mr. Cross, remember, you are not just dealing with a man, you're dealing with a force of nature cloaked in the trappings of the Gilded Orchid's deceptive grandeur, a master of the game that is always several moves ahead. When Mr. Cross speaks, his voice carries the gravelly undertones of a creature born from the ancient lineages of dragons, each word carefully chosen and delivered with a precision that betrays a keen intellect. He doesn't need to raise his voice, no. The quiet thunder of his tone is enough to silence any room. He looks at all of you as you have been escorted into the room. Now just the four of you, along with him and the consummate guard Udo. He crosses his arms, the bathrobe hanging just loosely at the sides so that the force of his physique is ever present. And he stares at you with those green, piercing eyes. Well, well, well. It seems we have some individuals that don't quite know what they're getting caught up in now, don't we? Udo, didn't I tell you that this night was going to become exciting? And he just kind of glances across each of your gazes.
Thanks for the invite.
I lean towards Silas and I'm like, I don't think we're here for a bath.
Nope. Certainly not.
There's a soft chuckle that comes from Mr. Cross. You can hear it kind of echoing and resonating in these rooms, reverberating across the marble walls. No, Professor Hex. I did not invite you here for a bath. As a matter of fact, I think if you were to have one of our baths, you might enjoy it a little too much. and you might never leave.
What's that supposed to mean?
Sorry, all I can think of is Drax. Nothing goes over my head. I would catch it.
Well, if we can't indulge in a luxurious bath, why don't you just tell us what we're doing here?
Well, it seems that you're neck deep in something that's bigger than you know. Garrick Blackthorn's collection is a prize sought by many. Each piece of it, a bit of a puzzle, you see. Each artifact, a power. There are many who would have a piece of that hoard.
What makes you think that we have any interest in that?
Oh, my little pirate. I know a great deal more than you in this circumstance. You see, Mr. Cog has been asking questions of people he should not be doing so. And I am afraid that your little rendezvous tonight has made you implicit in his... Oh, what does he call it, Udo? Udo, of course, remains perfectly silent and stoic. The only skin that you can see on her, the bit of face revealed through her mask, and the slight reflection of her fingers. She doesn't say a word. And he just looks back at you and says, "Investigation. That was the word. And now I am afraid that your friend has gotten himself into a bit of a spot of trouble, you see. The mercenaries that took him tonight, well, I am certain that their patron wants only the best for Cog's health and long life, provided that he's willing to give them what they want."
Well, are you gonna tell us what you want from us? Or are we just gonna fuck around here?
There are some names. The Trust, House Thrashk, even shadows like Vitus Pharaoh. They're all pawns in a game that's been playing long before you arrived on this board. But I could be your benefactor, as it were. You see, Cog's predicament. It's unfortunate, but it could be remedied. My reach is long, and my resources, let's just say they are abundant. And these mercenaries are simply a piece on the board. I could offer you a great many things. Not just getting your friend back from these ruffians, but I could offer you riches as well. And he pauses and he lets that word hang in the air. His eyes kind of drift over to Riverly, as if he knows much more than she wished he knew. Enough to wipe clean your debts, carve out a new destiny. But that's not an offer, mind you. It's a lifeline. I can give you any of you. that fresh start some of you so desperately need. And maybe more.
What's in it for you?
I simply would like you to consider me your friend in deserving of the information that you uncover regarding Blackthorn's hoard. See, whoever controls that information can have quite a bit of sway in these coming months as pieces shift on the board, some left, some right, some crushed into oblivion.
What, if anything, do I know about Mr. Cross?
Give me a history check with advantage, please.
Yeah.
Advantage because of your investigative journalism stuff.
25.
You know a great deal about the Black Cross. You don't know quite as much about Mr. Cross, other than he has managed to avoid all personal ramifications to any criminal acts that have ever been associated to him or his association, his organization. He has a number of politicians in his pocket. He ostensibly is capable of getting meeting with virtually anyone within the upper echelons of Sharn society. And you know quite clearly that the vast majority of his wealth comes in the form of information. He is more than capable of doing the dirty work or having the quote-unquote dirty work done, but that's not the way he prefers to operate.
Okay, thank you.
Silas would also probably know that this man is probably someone that he has always been warned off from. Even if it is just to try to get information from him, the debt that you could incur by trying to get information from him would be vastly more costly than you would ever want.
Okay.
So I would assume then, Mr. Cross, that our help would also garner favors in the future as well, sort of solidifying this allegiance that we have to you.
He smiles very broadly, and it's not unsettling so much as you are 100% certain that that is probably the same smile that he has had on his face when someone has been killed in front of him. Loyalty's a rare commodity, my elven beauty. But prove yourselves. Align with me, and I can stand behind you against any tides that would otherwise pull you under.
And what if we respectfully decline? Respectfully.
His tone hardens, and there's a subtle shift in his demeanor. To continue the analogy, you could refuse and find yourself adrift in dangerous waters without a sail. I'm not a man you want as an enemy, my dear journalist.
Certainly not. I just like to know the options.
Just so you are aware of the full extent of said options. the ones that you hold dear in this life, their safety can be assured or not. Looks over at Hex. What has Hex been doing or presenting? Because I don't imagine he is the kind of person that can hide his reactions to things.
No, he's actually been oddly quiet. I feel like the other three might be like, wow, he hasn't said anything yet. Perhaps because he realized that he's not in the situation he thought he was in, and so he's just staying quiet for now. If he is in, like, spoken to directly, then he'll respond, but otherwise.
Mr. Cross kind of looked at him directly.
Oh, hello. I am Professor Hex, son of Professor Hexavia of the Mulgrave Institute. I'm sure you've heard of him. I believe I've been, I believe this is a mistake that I am here. I'm not really sure who these folks are, but they are friends of my friend Cog, and so I am willing to vouch for them. And
that's so very kind of you,
if
Professor.
You need any kind of
I am well aware of who you are and who your father is.
Oh, see, I told you that he's well known. I'm
also well aware of your relationship with Cog.
I mean,
and whatever investigation that he has brought you in on this evening, I would advise you to see it through.
I mean, that might be difficult. We were set upon, you see, and there was a bar brawl, and there wasn't really a lot of investigating going on. We were going to meet him, and then now apparently he's gone. So I think it would be best if we all just, if you are interested in your bath time here, but I think I'm just going to go home.
You could absolutely return home, Professor. I would and he kind of just starts idly playing with his robe. I would be cautious if I were you about waking up in the middle of the night and finding something unsavory in your bed.
I have a feeling that threat just goes right over his head, and it takes him a good several moments to think about that one. Like what?
He looks over at the elven woman with a broad smile upon his face, and she stares at Hex. Roll a wisdom saving throw, please, Hex.
Ooh. I think I suck at those. Hang on. Oh, not that bad. What's either an 11 or an 8? I have a feeling both are going to be bad. So, yeah.
Yeah. Riley, you feel a rise of arcane power within the room. You are given warning by your lady mistress to guard your mind just in time, and then you realize you weren't the target. For what it's worth, Udo makes no move. She doesn't blink. She doesn't say a word. There's no twitch of the finger. Nothing. But Hex, you all see, reaches up and grabs onto his skull as Jeremy, Professor Hex, is accosted with a vision of a man waking up with a woman lying in the bed next to him whose limbs and head have been removed from her body. screaming in horrifying pain. And just as the vision fades, you blink and see yourself staring at Udo.
Do I take damage for that? Just curious.
I mean, yes, there is psychic damage involved, but it's not going to
Not matter.
in this
Okay.
case because
Um,
unless you guys decide to all of a sudden turn on Mr. Cross, which I don't think any of you are that idiotic, so we're not going to worry about the damage component here, but yes.
so Hex cries out.
We are that idiotic. I just really need you to acknowledge
Okay,
that.
Jeremy, you take
Okay.
4d6.
Fair.
That's 14 points of psychic damage.
Okay.
Well,
Thanks. I think Hex
Are
cries
we still
out.
sharing damage?
No, that's gone now.
That's
No,
long gone.
okay.
Yeah.
That
Okay,
only lasts
okay.
10 minutes.
He cries out, and Sterling actually like unfolds again, and like the legs come out, and it like backs up, but is like looking like a spider, like getting ready to pounce as he's having this vision. And
Mr.
when he
Cross-
comes out
Mr.
of
Cross, like, speaks up and says, "Careful of the water, young man," as like you're drifting backwards, almost ready to fall into the pool of water.
Gotcha. Hex reaches out blindly for a moment before his vision comes back and he can see Udo. And then he's just shaking, and there's like some tears running down his face. And he doesn't say anything.
Now that we've got such unsavory delights out of the way, do I hear any objections to my generous offer of patronage?
Well, you certainly won't hear any objections.
Good. On your way, then.
I'm gonna tell my dad.
I think Cross will tell him in the morning. So sorry.
You all turn to leave.
I'd like to at the very least make sure that Hex gets out before I do. I really don't want to leave him in the back of the line.
I think Liza would stay and take up the rear.
Okay, good.
As you all turn to leave, you start heading for the archway that leads into this main chamber, and you hear Mr. Cross's booming voice behind you. For what it is worth, I will contact these mercenaries and offer them a higher bid to ensure that good Mr. Cog remains unharmed for now.
I will turn around, take off my hat, and give like a deep, sarcastic bow.
He gets a very, very wide smile with that and offers an equally over dramatic, flourishing bow in return. You all make your way through the arch. On your way out the opulent Gilded Orchid, you see a number of individuals around the various baths, some of them leisurely draped across a sitting couch or in one of the alcoves having quiet conversations, no doubt up to some sinister meant. And you find yourselves eventually standing on the steps of the Gilded Orchid, looking up into the night sky, the heavy rain falling, seeming a personal insult on this already dark evening. And that's where we're going to call it tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Dang it.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of this little 2-part mystery saga, where we get a bunch of random fools caught up in a tale of murder and intrigue. Tune in next week, same time, next Saturday, on this very channel for part 2 and hopefully the conclusion, where we get to find out if the mystery can be solved and if these folk manage to make it out with their lives. I'm going to give each of these people now an opportunity to tell us a little bit about all the awesome stuff that they have going on, because believe you me, these folks got other cool things besides just being here playing in the world of Eberron with me. To kick things off, though, I would like to mention that I am Miko, otherwise known as the OKSGM. I am one half of the dynamic duo of founders over at Folk and Myth, where we create awesome and crazy stories on most regular nights, thanks to no small part with the help of Beth and Deb, keeping Christian and I on track and doing things as we should. You can find more about us over on twitch.tv/folkandmyth or folkandmyth.com, or check out our socials. There are all kinds of good stuff coming up. We've got shows 3 days next week, I think, at least. Something like that. I'm losing track. There's a whole April schedule. I haven't even gotten through part of it yet. But yeah, that's what I've got going on. Beth, would you like to mention anything that I left off there?
You covered much of it. But I am Beth. Hi. I'm on the internet at Beth Masco. Tonight
Beth Masco.
No, because that's not my actual handle.
That's true.
But
no,
but it is what I prefer to be called. So get it straight. This has been really fun. I really love Eberron.
Just so you know, Eberron is not usually as dark and sinister as this.
And sexy?
Okay.
My God. Anyways, you guys can find me over at Folk and Myth. I play in the wonderful Ystera game on Wednesdays, where I play Deb's twin sister. And we have a hell of a lot of fun over there. So come check us out.
There's tears.
Too. I don't know what you're talking about. Never happened. Not once or twice
Not once.
or 15 times.
We lost count a long time ago.
I know.
Speaking of twins, the woman who saves us from ourselves every night, Deb.
Hi, it's me. I have nothing to add because whatever Beth is up to, I'm also up to. So that's great. Yeah, Folk and Myth. Check it out if you haven't already. Miko, you were right. There's 3 games next week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Should be a good time. And then
Which means I've got actually 4 games next week.
Right, I'll be back here on Saturday.
Oh, I might have overbooked myself in April.
Nah, it'll be fine.
It'll be great.
It'll be fine.
Because you get to hang out with us.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm looking
Sound
at the week
convinced.
after too. Okay. Anyway, Deb also has an Instagram. She does stuff on the Instagram, so you can check that out
Occasionally, yeah.
too. Occasionally. She posts pictures of
Cats.
her cats.
They
who
both
are-
showed up today. You couldn't really see Smog's head, but he was here.
I saw the hint. I saw the
He
hint.
figured out how to get on my desk, which is a disaster. It's gonna be great.
I'm just glad he didn't knock your camera over.
He was rubbing his face all over my microphone, which is,
I wondered why you muted yourself so much tonight.
that was why.
Yeah, got it. Awesome. Tune in next week for more of Deb's cats.
Yay!
And continuing right along, Miri.
Hi, I'm Myriad or Miri. Thanks for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. I can't wait for next week. You can catch me here on twitch.tv/myriad_x. I do a whole lot of different stuff on my channel. We do variety gaming, TTRPGs, as well as art. And next Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific, is going to be the return of my D&D 5e homebrew campaign, All We've Lost. We are entering into season 3, which is very crazy to think about. We're entering into the halfway point for the campaign, and I'm very excited about that. So yeah, come check us out. Come hang out.
You got a full book day next Saturday then, huh?
I sure do.
Isn't there a session 0 mixed in there too, or is that tomorrow?
There's a session 0 somewhere.
There's always a session 0.
There's something going on. It's in my calendar.
You'll know it when you see it. I'm that exact way too. Thank you so much, Miri. It has been an absolute joy getting to play with you once again, and my first time jamming for you, so I was very excited for this. And so yeah, that's it, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I'm just kidding, Jeremy. The reason that we are all here on Wanderer's Shaven, Jeremy, what you got, dude?
Speaking of, we are doing a Ko-Fi to raise money to get new razors here on Wanderer Shaven. Hi, I'm Jeremy. I don't know where to go with it from there. What's that?
Did you miss me, Jeremy?
Oh, I absolutely 100%.
He didn't.
I feel like I should say that, this coming Wednesday is episode 3 of For the Horde of the Dragon Queen, where we're doing the cultist side of Tyranny of Dragons, because, good and evil, it's all just perspective, right? So,
and that's in the afternoon, so
it
doesn't
is
conflict with Ystera.
Yeah. And then on the 4th, we have our rescheduled Trouble Brewing, a Pathfinder 1-shot, and then come back on, next Saturday for part 2 of this multi-part. We don't know when it's going to end the campaign. All right,
it's going to end.
It's going to end next Saturday.
One way or another,
right? You better be here, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Thank you all for coming over and doing this tonight. I appreciate it. It's been fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends.
As am I. And maybe next week we can answer whether or not Professor Hex's dad is a slut. Because I guess in chat that was a thing. As I'm catching up on the chat. You guys are wrong, by the way. I'm just pointing out. Wishful thinking on your part, but oh man. The stories that you all tell. Thank you so much, chat.
Sometimes the fan fiction is just as good as the actual story.
Especially when Andrew and Raven are involved. Those two are peas in a pod. So yes, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Are we rating anybody tonight, Jeremy?
I believe we should. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe Dice Legends.
That's the first one on my list.
That works for me. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to us. We're going to raid into Dice Legends here in just a minute. Stick around for the raid and tell them who sent you when you get there. And we'll see you all again very soon. Bye.
Bye. But I have to push the other button, just so you know.
Yeah, push the right button this time, Jeremy.